Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing tools and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 Speaker Meeting 394. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later in podcast format. Today's speaker is Eva C, a first-time Rico 12 speaker, and her talk today will be entitled Truth versus Self-Delusion. I look forward to hearing more about this message in a few minutes, but first, a few quick announcements. We do at Rico 12 offer a variety of recovery resources, including other podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, please come to our website at rico12.com. That's RECO12.com, or check the chat and the show notes for links. We are still seeking some speakers over the next couple of months. So if you or someone you know has someone that your higher power is putting on you to share, please reach out to me at rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get things lined up. Also, one more note on this. The Afro-Euro Rico 12 meeting, which is held and recorded each Friday at 8 a.m. UK time, has a new host. So grateful to Karen A., who has hosted in the past couple of years. She's built something really cool. And Lisa S. is the new host and held her first meeting last week and hosted the meeting also this morning. And just grateful to have her jumping in and carrying that torch. All right. And also one other thing, looking ahead into February, starting in February and going through April, this meeting, the flagship Rico 12 meeting, we're going to do a one-step at a time journey through the 12 steps. Speakers will be talking about each of the 12 steps over that 12 weeks. If you have a favorite step that you'd like to speak on, send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com and we'll get that lined up. All right. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this message. Thank you to all our spearhead donors, past and present. This last week, a special thanks goes out to Patricia for her contribution to Rico 12. The information on how to do that will be in the chat and the show notes of the podcast, and you can also go to the website, rico12.com/support. And your support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now, let's welcome today's guest speaker, Eva C. Here's just a little bit about her. After almost 19 years in Cocaine Anonymous, Eva stopped seeking power. She became blocked by calamity, pomp, and worship. So her own lies became her truth. Take it away, Eva. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for everyone who does service to make this meeting possible, and anyone who, I understand what goes on behind the scenes. Thank you. Nice to see people I know, people I love on the meeting, and people who've walked beside me, and it was Justin asked me about what my topic was going to be, and I spoke to Nikki M about it. She said, "Oh, you need to talk about being blindsided," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I thought, "Nah, I'm going to go and speak. Nah, I'm going to speak to I'm going to speak with my Creator and get some quiet time in it." And what just dropped in me out of nowhere was the truth versus self-deception, and I'm a drug addict of the hopeless variety. I'm exactly what the big book talks about. I've been a member of Cocaine Anonymous since 2002, and I've been a study and a teacher and a student of the literature, and I know what it says. I know what it says, and I'll give you a little bit of a background. I used from about the age of about 11. Roundabouts. I didn't realise I needed anything to change me. I didn't understand that, but what I knew is I felt different and I liked it and I wanted more. It was definitely the allergy was in place, and And I sort of chased that right through all my teenage years, using different substances, using different... I wasn't even really that bothered about boys or anything. I don't think that much. It was just more about how can I get high, you know, and that was what it was like as I came into recovery. I came into recovery when I was 23, 30 years ago, and I managed to get a couple of years, and then I used again and got a year or 6 months, I can't remember, but it was never recovery. I just would put my drug of choice down and think that I was okay. And then I would be mental. And then I would think, oh, I know it'll change how I feel. But not even being aware of this language has only come as I've come into Cocaine Anonymous, just thinking, how can I make my life better? It would be that type of lie. How can I make my life better? And I'd have a baby, and the joy of the baby and the love that I was experiencing, the connection that I experienced, because I understand now that that's what this is about. The connection that I would feel. My son William was placed on me, my daughter Ariana would be placed on me, Harvey, and the experience that I had there was what I wanted more than anything. And I didn't, again, like I say, I didn't really understand that. Just hindsight and time and experience of great teachers. And then I came into recovery in the beginning of 2002, and I just thought that it was the drink and the drugs, and then obviously the condition that I suffer from, you know what I mean, which is an absolute deep-rooted spiritual malady, which is a disease, which is an uncomfortability in my own skin was prevalent. And then when it's prevalent, what happens to me is my mind starts to talk to me and whisper little things to me. And if I can't see for just being in a load of bullshit, I act out on that. And I've done that for a long time. And I was act out in ways like... we need to get a business and I need money. Do you know what I mean? And the money's going to be the thing that's going to make everything in life worthwhile. And I've done that because I'm really smart and switched on. So I was able to like get together a business plan, a couple of businesses, do stuff like that in recovery, and get money and get the big car and get the house and get the... But I would still be like seeking something. Whatever I got was never enough. That's the thing. Whatever I got was never enough. And but I was placed in a position, and I do believe that it was... Let me just move the dog. Days. That way, this way. Come. You touch her and she starts squealing like you've kicked her. Anyway, yeah, well, I was placed in a position to be of real maximum service when I came in 2002. I met a woman down in Bournemouth at a convention, and I knew that there was something different about her. She had this calmness and this way about her, and she just was love. She was just like a human being in the form of love, and I thought, I don't know what it is about her, and she came to me, and offered me a solution in the big book, and I went through the process of the steps, and I come to understand even then, back in those early days, that, you know, when I pick up a resentment, it's like the book talks about it, most of the time it's fancied. Most of the time, the things that I get really agitated and annoyed and angry about, they're not even real. They're not even real. Do you know what I mean? You know, I've got things that happened to me in the past. My mum abandoned me when I was 11 months old. I had resentment, and it was something that come into me whole life. But most of the rest of my inventory was just a load of absolute nonsense. There's that little shortest sentence in the big book, nonsense, it says. And I realised that everything about me, what I thought about me, what I thought you thought about me, what I thought about you, was just all crap. It's just all nonsense, it's all noise between my ears. And I'd done the inventory, and I went out and I cleaned some stuff up, and something happened to me, like really profound. Something happened to me, and I had the experience, like the guy in the hospital bed when it came through him and blew through him like a wind on the mountaintop. That's what happened to me, and I was completely changed and transformed in an instant. And then I went into doing what we do in Cocaine Anonymous. We didn't have Cocaine Anonymous in Bristol, so I had the privilege with a couple of other people to open the first Cocaine Anonymous meeting, and really precious times. And God, gets me emotional even thinking about it, you know. And because now I go on the website now, I'll go, oh, my daughter will say to me, where are you going tonight? You going to a meeting? What meeting are you going to? Because there's that many now. And I think it'll all be gone. It'll all be gone with just like, I used to go out, it was brilliant, because I understood that I had to give it away in order to, I had to be thinking of someone else rather than thinking of myself. I understood that. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I've always just been trying to work out my own self and my own life with my own sick mind, the place where the illness centres. Oh my God, I get it. And I just went off, and I used to, we opened 2 meetings, and I used to, and we didn't even have ways to find back then, you know, meeting lists. So I would drag them down on these 2 meetings on about 50 scraps of paper, and I'd go out on a Sunday morning before I went to church, and I'd go all around the red light district in Bristol, and I would give them all to working girls. Do you know what I mean? And on the back end of that, I started a meeting on a Tuesday afternoon for the working girls. And the very first working girl who was on a corner, she's still in now. She's just celebrated 22 years, 21 years. I think she has 21. And she came, and I just went over to her, and she was absolutely fuming, you know, go away from me, move out the way, you know, because punters are coming. And I was just like, here's a cup of tea. You know, come and if you want a little sandwich, they've got sandwiches made, come in. And so it was beautiful. It was, you know, just to give you a little bit of a background, it was just a really wonderful time. And I was disciplined in the process of the steps. I was really disciplined. And then I had a situation in my home life, which I knew wasn't the right thing to do. And I went with it anyway. And it was really dishonest. And it's funny because I spoke to somebody a few days ago who knows me and my ex-husband, and I spoke about this situation, and he said to me, James Lamb in the coffee shop, he said to me, it's not even that bad either, everybody does that. It's not, you know, you signed a dishonest, we've fraudulently signed a mortgage. And I knew it in my spirit. This is going to take you out, not even take me out the door, but I knew it was going to not end well. I just knew that. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew it wasn't going to end well. And then you've got another person saying, it's not even actually that bad. But for me, who was obedient to this power, who walked in the spirit world, who, you know, you know, I love the Lord. He still is my be all and end all. I know why I'm here. It's in order to carry his message and carry the love of God into other human beings. And from that came separation. I became separated from the power. And what that looked like for me was, the marriage doesn't work, marriage isn't working. Then the hatred and the resentment and everything else begun. And then I think this, and then I think, and I just became really deluded in the situation. And I made the decision. I managed to take some inventory, but at that point, it was so damaged. The marriage, so damaged that there was just like no going back from it. Any love that was there had just been completely crushed out of me. And I made a decision to get divorced, and I went off on this not tangent, on this other path alone, as a single woman with a mother of 2 children, and still in the fellowship, still working with tons and tons of people, still part of doing service and district and area and UK, and doing all kinds of stuff for Cocaine Anonymous and worldwide, and then I met somebody. And I was really happy and content with myself. And I met somebody. I think, oh, he's nice. This is cool. And what was revealed to me by the time I was emotionally attached, which took probably about 12 weeks. By the time I was emotionally attached, what was revealed to me was he was just presented an idea to me of who he was. And I was just like, but I'm in it now. I'm in this thing. And I managed to get, and I realised he's an addict and he's alcoholic and he's using. I'm like, shit, what do we do here? And I think that I can sort it out. I thought that I could sort it out. I managed to carry the message through, and he went coming to meetings. Never ever done anything what we done, but he stopped drinking and using. So it was better, you know what I mean? And but there was no love there. There was no love there. Because human beings, unless they're connected to a power greater than themselves, in my experience, they can't bring God to the table. All as they can bring is themselves. And that was what happens. That was what happened. But I had this belief system that I would be able to reinstate a relationship for him with God. You know, it was just this insanity. It was just this insanity. When somewhere in me, I knew what the truth was. Somewhere in me, I knew what the truth was. And then I think there was a lot of fear around what people thought of me. A lot of, oh, I can't F up, you know what I mean? I'm so many years in recovery, almost 2 decades. I can't do that. And then eventually the day came. The day came when I believed my own bullshit. And even when it came into my head, I knew it wasn't a good idea. I knew I wasn't being too smart. I knew it. I knew it. But it still never stopped me. It still never stopped me. And I went and I used again, and I went on a journey for like 3 years of using. I used for 9 months. I came back into recovery for 10.5 months. In that space of time, I lost my dad. And then who I'm really, really, he was just me human hero. And I was just devastated. I was devastated. I was so devastated. And then I get shown a bit of attention again by the guy who I'd walked away from. He's like, how are you doing? All this stuff. And I'm like, oh, maybe a bit of human contact might be okay. You know that one? And maybe it might be different. And within 10 days, I was using again. And in that 13-month period, there was never a day that I didn't stop using. The allergy's real. I used to like teach the big book to newcomers, and I'd be talking about the allergy, and I never really, it hadn't dropped from here to here. That was the thing. It never dropped. I could say it and I knew it, and I could quote the big book and page numbers and all of that. But from here to here was a journey for me. And I understood, and I understand today that I cannot put anything in my system, otherwise it sets off that allergic reaction. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here for crack cocaine. That's what I'm here for. I find that I'll use other things. We have one spiritual malady, but we can treat it with lots of different things. Do you know what I mean? I'm here for crack cocaine. That's the thing that'll take me and kill me, which it almost did. 2 mild heart attacks in a shed. I ended up with a head injury, a punctured lung, all kinds of physical stuff. But when I got to a place at the end of that 13-month relapse, I wasn't deluded about him anymore. That delusion had been completely smashed out of me. I knew that this man was not any good for me, and that he was going to watch and stand over me while I killed myself. Do you know what I mean? There was no love there. There was nothing. It was just completely empty. There was no love in my heart. There was no love in his. And it was just quite tragic, you know what I mean? And I've seen it happen in fellowships with others, and I've thought, God, how did they get to that? And it's so subtle how it gets to it. It's like, that's, you know what I mean? But, today I know that I'm awake. I know that I'm awake to that type of thinking, that I can fix someone or he can fix me, or, I can, what I bring to the table is going to be good. It's all delusion. I have to be right standing with my power, who I choose to call God. He was nailed to a cross over 2,000 years ago. That's my Lord and Saviour. Unless I am in a relationship and operating from that spirit, I ain't no good to nobody. Because this head just plays tricks on me. It reasons with me, it fools me, it deludes me, it tells me lies, it whispers things to me. It's all shit. It's all shit. I just don't stay in my head. I just can't stay in my head. I talk about it regularly with Johnny. We've been speaking just recently about living in the head. It's like, I've got to move from here to here on a daily basis. All I have is 24 hours. But I was thinking of there's a little bit in it, and do you know what? I can't believe it's on page 30, I think. there's page 30, the persistence of this illusion. But it's where it says whether a person can quit on a non-spiritual basis depends to the extent that they've lost the power of choice. And I never really understood what that meant, but I do today. You know, some people get away with not living like in a life of purity. Do you know what I mean? They can do this, they can do that, they can be dishonest, a bit of self-seeking, a bit of acting out, a bit of whatever. They can do it. I can't. I just can't. As soon as I make any type of decision based on any of my instincts, I end up in here. And it ain't pleasant. Do you know what I mean? But since I've been back in, what's it been like since I've been back in? It's been I was talking with Liza about it last night. We had about an hour, over an hour on the telephone, and
got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
I don't know what's happened to me. That's the only thing I can say. I don't know what's happened to me. It's been so extreme, the personality change and the psychic change that has taken place within me. And I believe that's because of the depth of the suffering, you know, because from the depth of my suffering, there was some perseverance that I had to just walk through, some healing. I had to be untangled. You know, when I came in, the only way I could think of my mind was like, have you ever like boiled a pan of spaghetti and it overboils and the spaghetti's bouncing about and the water's boiling? That was what my mind was like when I first came back in, and it was like I had to let the water take it off the boil, allow it to simmer, and then pull each strands of spaghetti out one by one and look at it and see what was real and what was not real, and until the water was clear and still again, and I've been able to mark most of this recovery, which is, I can't even remember how long I've been back. Been back since the 25th of October 2024. It's been, my mind has just been quite silent most of the time. Most of the time. Now and again, I get a little, but I can catch it, expose it. Doesn't usually go into anything. It's really simple, you know what I mean? So simple, this process. When Nikki M talks about it a lot, about the drifting, you know, the fantasy, all of that. And I can drift a little, but I just bring it back. Bring it back into the truth of who I am. I think one of the most self-deceptions that I had about myself, because this is not about anyone else, this is about me. You know what I mean? I had to find a place within me where I was okay in my own skin, regardless of my external circumstances. No later vicissitudes can shake me. That's where I'm at the moment. That's where I'm at. And I've been like that for a little while. And that's definitely been because of the belief systems that have been transformed. They've been renewed. I've been restored. I know who I am. I know who I am as a daughter of the King. I know who I am as a child of God. Why would my God hurt me? I've got a little girl, her name's Estelle. She used to be a crying little cow, honestly, when she was little. And she'd fall over and she'd graze all her knee. And she would, so she'd cry. And as a mum, yeah, I would go over to her. And she'd be in the garden or something, I'd pick her up and I'd have a little look and I'd kiss her better and I'd tell her, it's okay, baby, mummy's got you, I love you. And I would comfort her, I'd sit her on my lap. And I would never do this on the wounds, I don't know if you can see. I wouldn't do that. I would tend to her, sit her on the work surface, give her a lollipop, or give her a banana while I cleaned her wounds up. Maybe cover it up, blow on it, kiss her better, constantly reassure her, hold her in my arms. That's the relationship I've got with my God. He hasn't been harsh with me. He's been really tender and loving. I was part of a religion. I had the opportunity to go to Bible college when I was in that big recovery, and you know, I was a leader in my own ministry, and a deliverance ministry. It was great. I've seen some stuff, and yeah, there was somewhere in me that still, even from that point, and even now, my daughter says to me, she says, "Mum, you've just gone into religious psychosis again," because I have this this belief system that if I'm sinning, if I'm doing this, I'm going to get banished and branded as sinner and all this stuff. And I've had to really work and heal from those belief systems too, and remember that there's nothing that can separate me from the love of God. Do you know what? One time I was away on holiday with my friends, and I'm probably going all over the place. But there was one time I was on holiday with my friends and was had a great time in Porto Benus, and we'd been out praying with working girls, and it was me and her in ministry. We'd gone over there and we ministered to a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of lives saved, and all kinds of stuff went on. It was beautiful. And she said to me when we were on the balcony when we got home about 4 a.m, she said, "Do you know what?" She said, "I just want the Lord or God to be my first thought." And I said, "Okay, well, let's pray for it." And we prayed for it. And then she goes, "I pick up Facebook." That was it. She said, "I pick up Facebook." And I said, "Okay, well, let's pray around it." And we prayed around it. And the next morning, I opened my eyes, and the first thing I thought of was God. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, God, for answering my prayer. Thank you that I thought of you first." And you know what he said to me? He said, "This isn't what you think of me, Eva. This is how much I think of you." And it was like a bold voice. And I was like, "What?" And I went out to my friend Rebecca, and I was like, "Guess what God said to me?" You know what I mean? And I know when I'm in that place, the freedom that I have within my heart is just like nothing I can even describe to anybody. You've got to have the experience yourself. I know Liza has that experience. We speak so deeply about it. The move within me, with the move of the spirit within me is and I know it's only come as a result of working the 12 steps and unblocking. Talks about it being my thinking gets distorted by calamity and pomp and worship of other things. And the biggest thing I worshipped in that big recovery was myself. I thought, I've got the answers, I've got the recovery, I've got the clean time, I've got the knowledge. There'll be a lot of situations that I go in thinking I had the answer. Do you know when I get sponsees come to me now and they ask me, and I go, "I haven't got no clue what you need to do. Have you prayed? Do your inventory, any fear inventory, any resentment inventory. Ask your God. I don't know. I don't even know what he wants to do with me." Do you know what I mean? I'm just in obedience, you know what I mean? Show me, Lord, where you want me to serve on a daily basis, and he keeps me busy. He keeps me busy, and so yeah, it's for me personally, it's any resentment, and I think step 10 inventory. Everyone just focuses on the resentment inventory. Fear inventory is one of the most important part of the inventory process, because before I run into resentment, it's already backed up by a fear. So if I can catch the fear first by writing it down and sharing it with that other human being, as step 10 directs me, continue, 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 continue. I usually don't go anywhere in it. It doesn't manifest in my mind. It doesn't manifest in the behaviour. I get a bit of peace. I can be of greater service. Do you know what I mean? And that's what this is about, isn't it? Being from being a self-centered, self-consumed, self-obsessed human being, to be able to think of what I can bring to the table, you know, is an absolute miracle. My boyfriend's on the meeting, and we're just newly in a relationship, and I just said, we just had a conversation before this. I've been laying in the bed just, I'm like, I can't even be bothered. It's one of them. He said, "Well, you haven't done notes." I said, "I ain't doing that. I was going to let God speak through me." It's one of them. But what I said to him was this. I said, "Johnny, I haven't got anything to bring to you. There's nothing apart from love. That's it. I can only enhance your life with some love, you know? And I know that that's all you've got, because I've got everything. I've got it all already. I know he's got it all already. It's like that. So we can exchange moments and times with just love. That's it. That's what life is about. You know what I mean? It's not, there's nothing more to it. There's no big like, oh, it's about them. It's really quite simple. I keep it really simple. I've been at home all day. I've done some sponsorship, spoken to him on and off throughout the day. I've had to talk and discuss some stuff. We see that it's not real. We come back into a position of love. And then there it is. There's God right there. And look at that, 24 seconds. Thank you very much. I'm gonna leave it there on love, because that's who God is. Thank you. I love you, Liza.
Hey Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much, Eva. That was so powerful and such a good talk. I really appreciate your willingness to do that and share your experience, strength, and hope. There's something you said towards the end, but before I get to that, I want to remind our live audience, if you have a question for Eva, please type it in the chat. If you want to remain anonymous, if you don't want me to read your first name, just say anonymous or direct message me in the chat, and I'll get to those questions. But I have a question for you. Towards the end of your share just there, you talked about the fear inventory, and you said, behind every resentment is a fear. And so your experience is, hey, let's get this fear inventory done. And I've never heard it put quite that way. So talk to me through why your experience is that the fear inventory is so vital, which it is, but why it even may be more vital than the resentments or the harms or whatever.
Because it's the fear. I'm either in fear or I'm in faith. This whole program is about getting a conscious connection to a power greater than ourselves, to walk in the spirit world. So to walk in that, there's got to be faith. So fear is the complete opposite of faith. So it's only when I go into a fear, I'm going to lose something, something's going to get taken from me, then I act out, then I become angry. Yeah. It's just really simple. So if I can catch this fear, you know what I call step 11? It's like a crab net, Justin. Do you know what I mean? If it's not a burning fear, I'm terrified, or it's an anger. If I do my evening review, I see the fear. Oh, there she is. She's afraid no one likes her again. That's a lie. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a crab net, but it gives us 2 opportunities to catch resentment and especially fear.
Yeah, and I love how you talked about, and that's the second time I heard you say, I just try and catch that fear, catch that negative emotion, catch that the noisy brain as soon as I recognize it. What is the process you go through to catch and then expose or shine light on those fears and that noisy mind? What is that process you go through?
Step 10 and 11. Step 10 inventory, if it's necessary, it needs writing down. Step 11, I do an evening review. And since I've been back, that was the thing that I wasn't doing. At the end of that, like 17, 18 years in, it's all started to slip away. I do it once a week, twice a week. I just wasn't ever like doing it on an evening. I do it every evening. My sponsor gets an evening review from me every single night. Do you know what I mean? Or if I don't do it in the night, if I'm really tired, I'll do it in the morning when I've got a bit more clarity. And we just see. Because it's always lies. It's only anything that's made up in my mind. Do you know what I mean? And then my meditation. I mean, I practice meditation. I work with others. I do all these things. And usually if I haven't seen something when I'm working with somebody else, I usually realise something about myself as well. That's always a place where I can catch things too. When I'm talking to someone else, I'm like, oh, actually, I think like this,
Oh, thank you for walking through that. And steps 10 and 11 are so powerful for me also. Thank you. All right. We have a question from our live audience. This is from Candace. Candace says, how do you differentiate between God's voice and the liar's voice. Sometimes I think it's God's voice, only to realize afterwards that it was the liar. So how do you go about differentiating that, Eva?
I think it's, for me personally, it's got to be regular inventory, regular step 11 even in reviews, because there's nothing built up because I'm catching stuff before it comes. I think if it's unattended, that's when it's usually a lie. Yeah, but I can catch it really quickly. Um, I know what God's will is. I read His Word, and I'll read spiritual literature, and usually, if a thought comes in that I'm not sure if it's me or God, I'll just run it under the four absolutes. Is it love? Is it pure? Is it honest? Is it unselfish? It's that simple. It's that simple. It's no big massive like surprise. Eva's got a different answer. It's just the same answer as what Bill and Bob were using back in 1935 when they started this thing. Do you know what I mean? And what every spiritual practice has used for thousands and thousands of years. It's really simple.
Yeah, and I look at that, Eva, and it always takes me when somebody asks this question of me. I always go to pages 86 and 87 in the Big Book, and I'm just going to read a couple of lines here, and then I'd love to get your take on this and your feedback on it. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while, tried to ask God. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. But being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it's not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. So talk to me a little bit about that and your experience with that. How have you paid maybe in all sorts of absurd ways, and how do you try to avoid that now?
Yeah, well, I try and avoid it by doing the following, the previous pages. But I think when I first came back in this time, I can only really bring to me remembrance with like a feeling. I can feel it. When I first came back this time, for the first couple of months even, I was detoxing. I had pneumonia. I had been in psychosis for such a long time that I could not trust my own thinking. I couldn't trust it at all. And I had to allow people, do you know what I mean, to walk with me through stuff. Because at the point that I was in my life, 52 years of age, with an absolute carnage of a relapse, I couldn't trust my own thinking. But what I done was, so I would run it past people. So there wasn't just Eva in recovery. I had a team. There was Team Eva. I had my friend Zane, friend Sharon, Beth. I had about four other people, old timers, and I would just run stuff past them, just run stuff, and they would say, "Actually, do you think there could be this?" And then I would sit quiet with it. And if I was unsure, I just do nothing. I just pause. I'm not doing nothing. And it saved me. I'm still here today with some peace in my mind. But I think when you've been in the discipline of these steps, especially this part of the book, and the greatest thing for me, I say it again, reiterating, it's the meditation. And I used to meditate like this. I put my phone on. I put a 5-minute timer on my phone and just sit there. And I think that was it. And today my meditation is where I do some breathing and I go in and I feel what's going on in my heart, what's going on. And if there's pain there, I ask, what is this, Lord? Show me. Show me why I'm in pain. Show me why I'm in judgment. Show me what's hurt me. You know, because sometimes it takes me a minute, I was saying it to Johnny, sometimes it takes me a minute to realise that I've been upset by anything. It usually like manifests about 2 or 3 days later when I'm feel really weepy and like, do you know what I mean? And upset about something, I'm not sure what. But it's in the sitting quiet. But I usually ask God, I'm really specific with my prayer. I'm specific with my questions. Please, Lord, show me what you need me to do today, or how do we need to manage this situation? And I wait. And when I get the answers, usually when I'm mopping up, I always say I'm known as God's in the mop. When I'm mopping the floor, it goes ping, and I go, oh, there it is. This is the answer. And then I can work with that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, God's always in the mop.
I
My house.
love that. God's always in the mop. That's a great way to do it.
Mm.
I can totally see that in my own life. I ask, I seek, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing? Well, why don't I go get to taking out the trash, taking out mopping the floor, vacuuming the floor, whatever that may look like. And all of a sudden, when I'm into action in serving, whether it's my family or someone else, all of a sudden that answer comes. I love how you shared that. Another thing that you shared that I think is really powerful, and I'd like to get just a little bit deeper on that, is the power of having I've heard it called a God squad, or people that I can bounce what I think might be inspiration, might be God's direction for me off of. It's not just between me and God, it's between me and God and other people who are trying to connect with God. Why is that so important in your life, Eva?
Do you know what? It's what's also come to me then, there was just another part of that question that you'd asked me before was, our books tell us, don't they, see where religious men are right and make use of what they have to offer. And because I was in ministry for a number of years, I've got some friends who were in ministry. Do you know what I mean? So I know that if I'm going to go to them, they're not going to come from a place of self or their ideas or their opinions on how they think on it. They'll just talk to me about how God would want me to be in a situation. Do you know what I mean? I'm really careful who I talk to. Because I've had so many ideas and I've done that one. If it's been something that I know I shouldn't, in doing something that I know isn't quite right, I can go to people to give me the answer that I want. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to go to my sponsor, Beth Davis, 28 years, who's absolute spearhead, and she will tell me the truth, whether I like it or not. Do you know what I mean? Whether I like it or not. And she delivers it with some love. I get a bit Liza, speak with Nikki M. Do you know what I mean? I've got other people, I've got a lot of people who I know do the do. And because I ain't going to have somebody speak into my life, even like sex conduct stuff, we'll talk about that, for instance. It talks about we're not the arbiter of anybody's sex conduct. Do you know what I mean? But if it's, because everybody's sex conduct is troublesome. Mine isn't necessarily troublesome, or it wasn't troublesome with me and my partner. Mine is so troublesome. Mine affects my kids. Do you know what I mean? That's the bit with me. So how would God have me be? My kids can't be harmed. Never mind myself and the person who I'm in an intimate relationship with. Now, you go to somebody who's not right or who's not spiritually connected, they'll give you loads of different answers. It all depends who you ask the answer to. I'm going to go to somebody who I know is pure in that area of their life. I think Nick talks about it all the time, they're properly appointed authority. I'm going to go to someone who I know whose home life, marriage, sex life is pure. I'm not going to go to somebody who I know is sleeping around the fellowship and I say, what you reckon about me with Johnny? Do you think I should be with him? I'm not going to listen to somebody. I'm going to listen to somebody who I know is operating in purity. If that makes any sense.
It does. And I think this next question that just came in is a good build off of what you just shared there about sex conduct. This is from Wendy. Wendy says, I fear and have strong feelings that I am dating an untreated addict, a sex addict likely. How do I lean on my instincts that he is an addict? Is God letting me know something here, or am I just responding from my fears? The guy doesn't think he has a problem.
Okay. There's nothing you can do about him. But what I would say is to do your own inventory. When it talks about fearless and thorough, I mean, for me personally, there's a process of getting quiet with God before I even write inventory, and then a time with God after I write inventory. Not every time, but if I'm a bit unstuck and I'm a bit unsure and I'm a bit confused and I don't know what's what. But anything that brings about confusion is usually not of God. Do you know what I mean? And an absolute disturbance in my spirit. I don't listen to this anymore. I'll listen to the ear, and my whole body will be like, nah, we're not doing that. We can't do that. Do you know, it's like I would never throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I would never tell anybody what to do in that. Just always stay true to your own self, innit? That's it. It's about being authentic, I suppose. Well, I know so. For me, it's about me being authentic to me. Am I okay with the situation I'm in? Am I okay? Or am I getting hurt? If it's a pain, is it if it's in my head, I'm going to just take that to the inventory process because I know that's shit. What's my experience? Does somebody show me love? Does someone show me respect? Does someone make effort for me? to someone polite and kind, all of the things in the fifth column. Am I doing it too? My sex conduct, the saying and sound sex ideal. I wrote a list down. I'd done a big piece of work around with my sponsor around it, and I looked at some stuff, and again, I'll put my number in if anyone wants to speak to me about it. It was just the greatest thing. And I wrote down, I realised why I had these belief systems and why I behaved in certain ways in relationships. This fear of being rejected and abandoned would never allow me to commit. I can only do my own inventory, no one else's. And I know that I was healed and overcome that. And the ideal, it was a big list of stuff. And I'm looking at it, and the first thing is gotta love God. Gotta love God first and foremost. Gotta be honest, gotta be able to communicate, gotta have some humour, gotta this. Da, da, da. And then when I'm looking at it, I realised I'd wrote it about myself. Because that's who I want to be in a relationship, not what I need another person to be. I've got to be that. Do you know what I mean? And yeah. So I hope that answered that lady's question.
Thank you for sharing that. I love it. All right, next question came in a private message, so I'm going to keep it anonymous. This person says, for me, the spiritual gift of pausing has been the greatest gift as a result of doing the steps and helping others. What do you feel, Eva, has been your greatest gift in recovery? Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
So many. I think the greatest gift is the peace of mind. And do you know where that's come from? It's come from just knowing that I've only got 24 hours. It's just not overwhelming anymore. And I don't have to carry the whole shoulders, the whole fellowship of Cocaine Anonymous, which I felt like I did do for a long time. And I haven't got that anymore. I can just be me. I can be quiet. But yeah, definitely the peace of mind.
Yeah. And I want to pause on that for just a second about, you said I felt like I had to shoulder the whole load of Cocaine Anonymous. Now, you started a new meeting in your town back in the day when that was. Talk to us about the importance of starting that meeting and the experience you had in starting that meeting, maybe to inspire or maybe to push people away from trying to start a meeting of whatever their fellowship is in their own town.
Well, because I've gone through the work with a lady in Bournemouth, I understood really quickly that in order to keep what I've got, I had to give it away. I understood that dead simple terminology, and I understood that selfishness, self-centeredness is the root of my trouble. That if to be selfless was the answer, where were we going to find these people? That was the whole purpose of it. And it was me and my ex-husband, and there was another couple of people, and we spoke about it. It was like, we need to have meetings where these people can come. We need to be sponsoring in order to remain sober. Do you know what I mean? So that was where that fellowship come. What was the second part of your question, Justin?
The second part is maybe to inspire others to be willing to open a meeting in their own towns where there might not be a meeting. How do you inspire somebody to do that?
Just get up and do it. Just get up and doing it. My big book says the same thing as my knowledge of today. Thousands of people are dying all around us. That's it. Do you know what I mean? Go out and go and open a meeting. It only takes 2 people to start a meeting. That's all it takes. I mean, you can follow all these guidelines up, but the reality of it is there's 2 people in a room. Do you know what I mean? And a new person comes in and sharing the experience of a spiritual experience with them, that we've got a solution. That's it. I mean, I've been I've opened meetings everywhere. I opened a meeting on the Isle of Arran. It's like a little tiny island about this big on the northwest coast of Scotland. And I went there on holiday with my girlfriends, Remy and a couple of other girls, Lisa and I can't think of the other girl's name. I haven't seen her for a long time. And Jane, and we went up with all the kids, and we were there, and it was like, oh, we need to meet, and we need to meet. I said, no meetings here. And Remy's like, Eva, we're in the middle of like the ocean on an island this big. I said, I'm starting one then. She's like, you don't even live here, you live in Bristol. And I said, well, we'll start one anyway. And we'll get people in. And that's what happens. We started and I travelled up there for quite a bit, you know what I mean, week in, week out. Get a flight up to Glasgow, get a ferry over to this little island and started this meeting, do you know what I mean? And then once people were sponsored, it was like, yeah, we can move now. And we just moved out the way and allowed them to do their thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, just do it, innit? Start a meeting.
That's beautiful. And I love that experience of starting a meeting
Yeah,
out in a small island that you don't even live on. That's so cool. All right. I have a couple more questions that have come in here. This first one's from Johnny. How do you remain so humble whilst devoting your entire life to helping others in the way you have?
Put me crying. Because I just know I don't want to go back. My kids nearly lost their mum, you know. There's just not one part about me that wants to live a way which is outside of the scope of my God. Not one part of me. And I just know that God is just talking about it with lies, that it's like how he restored me this time since I've been back in my heart is just so great. I can't even explain it. I lay in my bed some night and I vibrate with this love and I just don't even know what it is. I'm like, it's like, it's so overwhelming. It's like I just want to go out and love on people and love his kids and show addicts that there's a way out, you know what I mean? Not in any like promotion, just in an attract. It's like just love. Love is the way, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's the thing that conquers everything. Waste of time putting makeup on, Johnny Bun.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing that. And I love your description of that that feeling of love. Next question comes from Michelle. And I hear this question fairly regularly from my community, my immediate community. How do you answer Christians who say that attending 12-step programs is unbelief? That saying we are addicts over and over is a negative testimony, and that all they needed was Jesus to get clean and sober?
I just say, that's your opinion. I just know mine. You know, as a Christian and even coming out of ministry, but my ministry is in Cocaine Anonymous. That's where it is. That's where God has placed me. I know I have the allergy. That's the bit that always gets the Christians. I had it for years. And I would have to stand sometimes like toe to toe with pastors and they'd be saying this, oh, how can you say this? We're fully healed. And I'd say, listen, I've got a son who's got a nut allergy. Yeah. Just because he believes in God. If I trust that if he puts a Snickers bar or a peanut in his mouth, he's going to have an anaphylactic shock. And I believe the same about myself because my experience, no matter where I've been at within my life, I have this allergy. Do you know what I mean? I try not to get into any opinion anymore. I try not to get into a battle with anybody, you know. Was battled for a long time in the Christian fellowship. But what I did do was it I'm was a founder and a leader of believers in recovery. So that was an opportunity for Christians. That was another fellowship that I was a part of establishing. Um, so Christians could come there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I love I just share my opinion, my experience. This is my experience. This is what has worked for me. And then I mix Jesus into that. And Jesus then is, like you said, that's who you call your higher power. And, and it works great. So very good. One more question before we start wrapping this up. Early in your talk, you said, whatever I got was never enough. And it was talking about, and you were in recovery, but you were starting businesses, you were doing all these different things and trying to do the next big thing, but it was never enough. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Whatever I got was never enough. Help me see that in my own life, please.
Yeah. I think, well, just like like the clean time. You know, I remember getting clean and sober in 2002, being in a treatment centre, and it was like, it was like, could breathe. Oh my goodness. I knew that there was going to be, you know, my life was going to change. But then give me about 6 weeks, I'm like, this is boring. And then I start going to meetings. It was NA back then, and AA meetings, and I go in there, and then that's, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to educate myself. I know I need to do that. I know I need to, and it was always seeking something different outside of myself. And again, like I say about businesses, and, you know, I've had all the cars, all the holidays, done it all. I've done it all. But we go to Dubai for 2 weeks, and that's not enough. Next time I want to go to Dubai and then go on a cruise and go to the bar. Never enough, never enough. I was never satisfied with anything. Do you know what I mean? And I'll get one watch, I want another one. Oh, and it'd be all, well, yeah, but God's blessed me. It was like, it was never nothing to do with God blessing me. It was everything to do about me still not feeling good enough and worthy enough. And that's what's being changed this time in this recovery.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eva. So as we wrap this up, do you have any final words of wisdom before we go into the closing readings and pray us out of here?
Yeah, the 12-step recovery program works. You know, I think for me, the journey from my head to my heart came from the suffering and the crushing of my own self. Do you know what I mean? You know, self being absolutely so broken down within me. And obviously it tries to reestablish itself. But yeah, the program works. We work. It's a journey. Nobody's better than, nobody's more spiritual than, nobody. It's just a journey. You know, it's just a journey. Thank you, love. Will somebody else read the Francis of Assisi's prayer, Justin?
Yeah. Would you like me to pull that up and do that, or do you want to read? Do you want to do it?
No, Johnny. Do you want to read the Francis of Assisi's prayer?
Yeah,
please?
if we can have Johnny do that, I'm going to do a closing reading, and then if Johnny, if you're willing to do that, you can come off mute at that point and do the St. Francis of Assisi prayer. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Eva, for an amazing Rico 12 speaker meeting.
Thank you.
If anybody out there wants to get in contact with Eva, please send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com, and I'll get you connected with Eva.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions, join our WhatsApp community, and we'll discuss those in that community. Come back next week for another great speaker and Q&A session with Mary Pearl, another first-time Rico 12 speaker. Her chosen talk is entitled Postcards from My Higher Power, and I'm looking forward to hear her talk next week. And once again, starting in February of 2026, we're going to do a 12-week series on the 12 steps. So if anybody out there is like, man, I want to speak on step 8 or whatever is your the step that just speaks to you, send me an email and we'll get that lined up. I'm excited to do that. All right, let's have that closing prayer, that the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Johnny, if you want to come off mute and say that would be fantastic.
Thank you so much for such a lovely meeting, and obviously Eva for asking me to do the prayer. Massive inspiration in my journey. So the prayer of St. Francis: Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in denying and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Remember, everybody, there is one that has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight. Still searching for glimmers of light. Feet still on the ground. I can still be found standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Record it in the book of life and bind it with the seal